get bad results?
He's working it out with his partners, the hospital, the insurance company. It's a mess, but my uncle's a lawyer. He says the...
I'm just going to pause you all for 1 second. YouTube is being a little dumb. So just give me a second.
Oh.
Technology. YouTube froze. So now we have to wait for you guys to come back to life.
So while we're paused, Will, I don't know if there's anything you can do about it. It's very hard to hear you.
Is it really?
Very hard.
Okay, I'm so...
Oh, that's okay.
Let me see if I can get... so you having trouble still hearing me right now?
It's pretty muffled.
Pretty muffled. All right, I'll grab different speakers real quick. Pause.
So we are live, but where are we live? There we go. Technical difficulties. The lovely thing about live streaming from home.
Do we need to back up or?
I think the last thing I heard on the live stream was...
Can you hear me better now?
You saying...
Can you hear me now? Not really.
I can hear you less.
Yeah, I think we hear you less now.
Yeah, how about now? Is it better? Much better? Amazing.
Okay. I think the last thing that I heard on the live stream was Mary Beth saying, there aren't many people her age where we go.
Wow, okay. Let me...
So not that far back.
Okay, yeah, got it.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
What page is it?
It's just a little bit up from the page we were at, top of 13.
Oh, I do see. Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think you had just finished that line, and then YouTube was like, your internet's not going to work right now. And then it popped. So we are back. So we're going to start back at the middle of 13, right after Ellen says, there aren't many people her age where we go. Henry is in a state of complete shock.
And how was the opera?
Somewhat overblown. Verdi's Aida. You've seen it?
Maybe.
It's just that we've been going so long. I'm on the board and sometimes I forget the reasons why I bother. I hardly enjoy it anymore. Just a habit at this point, I guess. Doctors get sued, Henry.
I know.
It's just one of the realities of the modern world. It doesn't mean your father's not a great doctor.
He is a great doctor.
It's a way to get money. He takes on the toughest cases, and so sometimes, what? You get bad results.
He's working it out with his partners, the hospital, the insurance company.
Good.
It's a mess, but my uncle's a lawyer. He says these cases settle. I get that. It's just when it's your family going through it. It's hard to see your father anguished.
I'm sorry I brought it up.
Maybe I'll vote for Bush.
George W. Bush?
Unthinkable, right? But he does want to cut back on liability for doctors.
No. I can't tell you who to vote for, but...
Henry waves her off.
Look, I'm not looking to talk politics, but sometimes you have a change in perspective when things happen.
I couldn't imagine him as president. Bush, I mean.
Don't worry, it won't happen.
How can you be so sure?
The Jews in Florida will tip the state to Gore, and as goes Florida.
Maybe.
This will be the first election in U.S. history where the Jews actually provide the margin of victory.
I'm not so sure that's good for us. The Jews, I mean.
Wouldn't it mean we've arrived?
We've arrived, Henry, but sometimes it's better not to have the scrutiny.
I'm not following.
Look at all this, Henry. Look at all we've been able to achieve.
Who?
Us, the Jews, Richard and his law firm, your father in medicine. Sometimes I look at this apartment and I have trouble believing it's all real. Not so long ago. No reason to bring up the horrible past. But when I look at all this, knowing where we've been, I get nervous.
Why?
We have all this because they let us have it.
Who?
Everyone else. They let us have it, but they could take it away at any time. Anytime. Right. Sorry.
Well, good night, Ellen, and thank you again.
Henry takes his book, shuts off the lamp, and starts heading off. Ellen watches as he goes.
Did you see Chelsea at all?
Oh, just for a minute.
Blackout. Scene 3. The following morning, suitcases about the apartment, no one on stage.
Ellen, did we take my electric razor? You know, I must have that electric razor with me. Only way I get to a good close shave.
Richard goes over to one of the suitcases, opens it, looks for the razor. Henry enters, t-shirt, casual shorts.
Need help?
I think we're fine, but thank you. I brewed a pot of coffee, a rarity for me, but I couldn't imagine getting through this morning without it. You should try some in the kitchen.
Henry exits to the kitchen. Richard roots around some more, finds razor. Chelsea enters. Richard does not notice her.
Here it is, Ellen. I have it.
He turns and sees Chelsea.
Chelsea?
She stares at him.
You met Henry. Nice guy. You should have a nice summer.
Chelsea does not respond. Ellen enters.
Chelsea, good morning.
Morning, Mom.
I'm going to start bringing these downstairs. The car should be here any minute.
Richard takes the suitcase and heads off left towards the front door.
You sure you don't want to join us?
I'll leave you to patch up your marriage now.
We won't be here for your birthday.
Tragic.
I guess we'll play the birthday game after we get back.
Maybe I'll play the birthday game with Henry.
Be nice.
Henry re-enters from the kitchen, holding a cup of coffee.
Richard, this is delicious. Wow.
Upon seeing that Richard is no longer there, but Ellen and Chelsea are.
Ladies?
Henry.
Henry, just who we're hoping to see.
Oh?
It's my birthday this summer, and you get to celebrate it with me.
Great.
Birthdays are something that my crazy family takes very seriously, and since my wonderful parents will not be here this summer, that leaves you to fill their gigantic shoes.
What do you have in mind?
Chelsea, the birthday game's our family tradition. He's not obligated in any way.
In my family, we play the birthday game.
Am I supposed to know what that is?
No.
It's the boogeyman that hides in your closet, the monster waiting under your bed. It's the little bit of empty embedded in every happiness, the spider under the petal of a rose.
How do you play?
It's a nasty tradition, one of the ugliest parts of my family, but it is also a kind of glue that holds us together. Sadomasochistic bonding. It makes us, can I say this?
Say what?
It makes us distinct. Whoever has a birthday gets to choose anything. Anything at all. Anything, big or small. I could turn myself into the belle of the ball.
There's no need to rhyme. Oh no, not at all.
I need to make sure I have everything packed.
She exits.
The birthday game.
The birthday game.
Any rule you can name, how you play the birthday game.
Any rule you can name.
Richard enters, awkwardly interrupts them.
Kids, getting to know each other.
Richard takes another suitcase, starts heading off stage. The phone rings. Richard answers.
Rules, Henry, the vengeful, dirty rules. It's a kind of bloodletting. Oedipus confronting his crimes. It's a blank. Any desire you want to fulfill. If you say you want to fuck a whore, you can fuck a whore. That will not be my choice, but I want you to understand the parameters.
Ellen
You gonna play?
reenters with a small shoulder bag.
You gonna play, Henry?
I'm intrigued. What do you want to do?
My birthday is late July, so I have plenty of time to decide.
You don't have to tell me before.
The tradition is you don't announce what you want until the birthday itself.
Richard hangs up the phone.
Okay, Ellen, the car is downstairs. Chelsea, you sure you don't want to come?
All right, let's get going.
Richard and Ellen gather up the last of the bags.
Have a great summer, you two.
Ellen, Richard, thank you so much again.
We'll call when we get there.
Richard and Ellen head out the door.
Bye, Mom.
They are gone. We hear the door slam shut.
So,
So, I'll try not to be a bad roommate.
I'm here to write my first book, a novel. I'm going to spend most of my time in the suite writing.
I'm going to take a shower and then I'll probably meet some friends for lunch.
Great.
She heads to her room.
One question.
Yeah?
It sounds kind of intense, this birthday game thing.
Yeah?
Has anyone ever... I don't know. It seems like it could be dangerous, or I don't know. How did it get started?
I think she froze.
Yeah.
Which would be
I think so too.
what's happening here. Look. Anywho, while she's coming back, which I assume she's coming back. I do just want to mention that this is the first workshop live out of 5 where I've had technical difficulties.
Mhm.
So you guys are the lucky bunch. Time. So what do we think so far?
Having a blast.
So we don't have awkward silence.
I don't like it. It's really,
It's getting going.
yeah.
It's clear, who the characters are, and like just in the quality of the writing, like clear, obviously, that there's the tension between Richard and Chelsea and Richard and Ellen, and it's the subtext wise, it's just, I love that. It's fun to play that.
And that weird attraction developing between Chelsea and Henry.
Right. I love how the small conversation of what happens at the ballet sort of alludes much later on, and then they just leave. It's like the little hint drop, and then they walk away.
8:06.
I feel like these are people I've known in my life. That's why I think this is so good. Yeah.
You've captured Jews very well. I'll give you that.
I'm not Jewish, but this captures just that whole affluent people deciding whether to break up or stay together, and cheating, and the not talking to each other, and then the little jabs, the little barbs.
My growing up, my parents always had a saying: if it was as long as they were still talking, everything was totally fine. It was the second the silence started, then that was the issue.
I feel like that's a very common thing. Like,
Sorry.
she's back.
My God. I'm so sorry. My laptop lost internet. Like, I don't know. It's still not back. So I'm on my phone now. Whatever. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I was like, she'll come back.
Yeah, no, I got mad. I left suddenly.
I was like, you just froze, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, everyone else froze, and I thought it was you guys. No, it was me. All right. Sorry.
Anywho, let's take it from the top of 23.
Top of 23.
Yeah.
It sounds kind of intense, this birthday game thing.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever,
What?
I don't know, it seems like it could be dangerous.
Or what?
I don't know. How did it get started?
Chelsea considers.
No idea.
She temptingly waves at him and disappears into her bedroom. Henry stands alone on stage. Blackout. Scene 4. Title card or projection. Saturday morning, several days later. Chelsea impatiently bounces around the apartment in a tank top and colorful pajama shorts. She sits on the couch, taps her fingers against her knees, stands up, wanders, etc. Henry enters from upstage left, from where the front door is located offstage, carrying a large brown paper bag. They look at each other.
I got some bagels and coffee.
Great.
He goes about taking out the bagels, coffee, etc., and setting them out on the sitting table.
When I woke up this morning,
Yeah,
I didn't hear you leave.
I didn't want to disturb you.
I suppose I wouldn't have minded if you'd woken me.
Oh,
Or maybe just to half wake me, give me a little nudge or something, just to say, hey, Chelsea, we're going to get some bagels. I'm going to get some bagels, but I will be back.
Oh, because when you woke up, you thought I might have...
It would have spared me the necessity of having to wander around the apartment with intense anxiety.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying. In the future, for the future, however you want to say it.
You want us to check in with each other?
Fine?
Sure, that's fine.
They eat bagels and drink coffee.
The Guggenheim has a new exhibit, Italian Futurism. I was thinking of going.
Sounds like a great New York Saturday. I was thinking of going to make some progress on the chapter of my...
Do you want to come with me?
Me?
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite, but I'm at a pivotal section in my novel and I was sleeping on this one scene that I'd really like to try and get written.
So you're gonna treat your precious Saturday just like any other day of the week?
No, well, look, that's why I'm here. Okay, I mean, no offense, but when my father got sued, the hospital asked him to take a leave of absence while they investigated. He and my mother were holed up with the lawyers. They didn't want me around. I had the summer open. I wanted to write. I applied for residency in Vancouver, a prestigious residency. I didn't get it.
Who knew Vancouver was so competitive?
My parents were like, stay for the summer, just work at home. But I could see they wanted me out of the house. My childhood bedroom is now a litigation war room. So I don't even have a place to sleep, right? Like maybe the couch? Your dad's firm is handling the case. And your parents were like, we're going to be in St. Bart all summer. Chelsea's coming too. You'll have the apartment to yourself.
Imagine your surprise when it turned out, lucky you, I'm here for the summer.
Imagine.
So you prefer I not be here today? Or any day?
Well, it's your apartment. I have nothing to complain about, but you'll just have to excuse me if I'm not always the most sociable house guest. I really do want to finish a draft of this novel so that come the fall, I can start shopping it around.
I'm gonna go take a shower.
Enjoy.
She starts to head off to the shower, stops.
What's it about, your book? Can you reveal its secrets?
Only if you're not humoring me.
If we're gonna spend the whole summer together, and if you're going to spend most of that summer working on this book, I think the principles of good roommate relations require me to have some knowledge of what you're doing.
Okay, sure. It's set right after World War II on the Amalfi coast in Italy. The main character is an American vet whose leg was badly injured in the war. He's recovering in this tiny little hospital overlooking the water. It's mainly just his thoughts and memories, his experiences in the war, lost loves, fights he had with his parents, and he's just sitting around bored out of his mind. He takes up painting. There's this crazy old patient at the hospital, barely speaks English, but he starts teaching the narrator how to paint. And he comes to realize as he paints how to construct a rich inner world for himself, how to be alive in his mind. And at the end of the book, I haven't written it yet, but this is what I'm planning. His old painting teacher just goes completely insane and stops talking. And our narrator is ready to leave the hospital. But now, having constructed this rich inner life, he's not sure he can actually live in the real world anymore. He also doubts whether his paintings are any good, right? It's like the artist has to face the world, but what if the world doesn't care? So the book ends on this ambiguous note. He leaves the hospital and faces a staircase that leads up to a road. And that's it.
Cool. I'm gonna go take that shower now.
What do you think?
About what?
The book.
I haven't read it yet. From what I hear, you haven't written it yet.
Well, what do you think of the idea?
Sounds fine.
Fine.
What do I know?
What do you know?
Exactly.
Have a great shower.
Have you been to the Amalfi Coast?
No.
But you've studied painting.
Actually, I haven't. I've read about it.
Were there American GIs being treated at little hospitals on the Amalfi Coast? Is that something that happened? Maybe it is. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So why are you writing this book? It sounds like an interesting idea, but I'm not sure what you bring to it.
Well, look, the point of the book is not to get the historical details correct. There are history books for that. The setting it's just a framing device. The point is what happens in his mind, his musings, his thoughts, the way he thinks. The book is about the way of creation, artistic creation, helps us heal.
Do you need healing, Henry?
It's not autobiographical.
She exits. Henry watches her go and sits in silence a moment. He goes over to a leather satchel in the corner, opens it up, and pulls out a notebook and pen. He sits down and starts writing. He gets frustrated, drops the pen in the notebook, and goes off to the guest suite. The stage is empty for a moment. Chelsea peeks out of her bedroom and sees that Henry is no longer there. She comes out wrapped in a towel, notices Henry's notebook. She goes over and takes a peek. She reads, she turns a page and keeps reading. Henry comes out of his bedroom and sees her. He carries a book, The Art of Fiction by John Gardner. Chelsea turns and sees him. They are both embarrassed.
Sorry.
Henry turns around so as not to look at her.
It's okay. I'm all covered.
Yeah, I guess
We might see each other naked at some point this summer.
He chuckles.
I'm okay with it if you are. Well?
What?
Are you?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I have to think about that one, huh?
Blackout. Scene 5. Later that evening, sun descending, golden rays. We are on the street near the Guggenheim Museum. The sounds of the city, car horns, pigeons, people talking. Sylvia sits on a bench looking out, somewhat conflicted. She has a formal business-type notebook and writes in it with a fountain pen. Henry and Chelsea enter in an animated conversation.
Well, that was a head trip, wasn't it? The Italian futurist. Don't they just challenge everything you think you know about artists?
How so?
The militarism, paintings of tanks and bombers, glorifying men with weapons. It was almost like propaganda for Italian fascism.
The guy who told me to see this would agree with you. He thinks art today has become degenerate and self-referential, doesn't celebrate the human body and human strength, says we need to see the Italian futurists as artists who stood for something, even if that is the glory of war and death.
The guy who told you to see this? Boyfriend? Sorry, that came out wrong.
So anywho, we're pausing again. So I think the best course of action,
Pausing.
is she coming back? Is she there?
Oh,
Oh, basis. Anywho, before we continue, I just want to mention that this basic commentary that the banter between Henry and Chelsea is very realistic. Like I feel like I've had this banter at some point,
Good.
especially like the banter with like writing and the creative process. Like Henry seems like a struggling writer, and I can definitely relate to that. So I understand. But also Chelsea's very sassy, and that's very important. That's all I have to say. So
I couldn't hear what you said just now.
Um,
What is happening with my Wi-Fi? I'm so annoyed. Okay, it's back.
I have the suspicion that since everyone is home all the time, Wi-Fi just sucks everywhere.
Yeah, probably.
That's my suspicion. And it's like around like 12 to 5 p.m. It's just like, boom, everyone's on the internet all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my conspiracy theory, like, suspicion right now. So.
You're probably right.
But anyway, let's talk about Chelsea not having a boyfriend.
Okay.
I'll go back to the guy who told you to see this.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah.
Boyfriend? Sorry, that came out wrong.
I don't have a boyfriend.
Oh,
Do you have a girlfriend? It's only fair that I get asked now.
no, I don't.
Handsome Jewish boy like you. They should be coming out of the woodwork.
So who is this guy pushing fascist propaganda?
Edmund Sadie, a philosophy professor at Columbia.
Edmund Sadie?
Edmund Sadie, yeah.
You know Edmund Sadie?
Pretty well, actually. Why? You know him?
Only by reputation. Well, I read about him in the New Yorker. Shining knight of the right, the last great Catholic literary intellectual, profiled in glossy magazines as the most conservative man in New York City.
Yeah. Him.
I thought he wanted to transform America into some Catholic religious state or something.
I don't think he actually said that.
I mean, even to hint at it. How do you know him?
Do you want to order Chinese food? There's a place around the block from my apartment. If we order now, it'll be ready when we get back.
Sure.
I sense some hesitation.
Chinese is great.
What can I order for you? On me.
You pick.
What are you not telling me about yourself and Chinese food?
Nothing. I just don't eat it that much.
Have you ever eaten it?
Sure.
When was the last time you ate it?
I really don't remember.
Do you hate Chinese food but feel the need to be polite because I suggested it?
I don't hate it. I just don't have a very strong preference about it.
So you literally just want me to order for both of us?
Yup.
So refreshing in a man.
Chelsea takes out her flip-top cell phone, hits a button.
Hello, it's Chelsea. I'd like to order in some food. Yes, that's right. No. What was that special you gave me last time?
Chelsea steps away from Henry to continue ordering. As Henry watches her move away, he catches Sylvia's eye.
Did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes?
I'm sorry. I don't mean to.
No.
I wasn't listening, but did you see the exhibit?
The
Italian Futurism?
Yes, I did. We did. I saw it with my roommate.
roommate?
Yes, I'm a house guest this summer, and never mind.
I wasn't listening in. I just overheard.
I'm sure we were talking loudly.
What did you think?
It's hard to know. I mean, isn't that a useful result for art? We're not quite sure what to make of it.
Chelsea comes back over.
Orders in.
Great.
Can I admit something to you?
Sure.
I felt a little bad because this morning I was teasing you about your book. I wasn't trying to give you a hard time.
Actually, I think you were.
What I meant was I probably should have minded my own business and let you work.
No, look, I'm glad you got me out of the house.
Yeah?
I'll admit something. You kind of shook me up earlier today.
Oh?
When you write something, it's very private. It's just you and the work. But then you explain it to someone and it's like, oh, yes, I've never been to the Amalfi Coast. I've never studied painting. Does these things matter? Am I wasting my time?
I'm sorry.
But I'm a total idiot because the exhibit, wow, as soon as you said Italian futurism, I should have jumped at it. No, I mean, I should have known to jump at it. And I'm angry at myself that I didn't.
Why?
My novel is about someone trying to paint in Italy. The Italian futurists were painters in Italy. How did I miss that?
Then I'm glad, I guess.
You're a novelist?
Not yet. She and I were talking about the exhibit.
My name's Sylvia. Sylvia Farid Scott Katz. I'm a journalist. Well, sometimes I'm a journalist. I'm actually a Hebrew school teacher. I don't know if either of you are Jewish.
We
are.
Today, I'm a journalist. I'm writing a review of the exhibit, and I was just trying to gather my thoughts when I overheard you two.
I was telling Henry here
My name is Henry.
that Edmund Sadie, a professor I know, recommended it highly, and he's Catholic, and
I know who Edmund Sadie is.
You do. Well, it's gonna be weird to put it like this, but he thinks that death is the only fundamental reality in life, comes for us all, and violence or even violent death is nothing to be feared. Sometimes it should even be embraced. We can martyr ourselves to condemn the decadence of the modern world by embracing violence as a kind of cleansing force. Sadie thinks that art should awaken in ourselves this sense of life being dangerous. And I think that he saw in the Italian futurists that a sense of this, of bringing us closer to the salvation of a violent death.
Henry is flabbergasted.
So, you and he would like discuss this stuff like over Chinese?
Edmund Sadie told you to see this exhibit?
Yeah. Why?
He's a friend of yours?
I guess.
Edmund Sadie is a fascist. He admires Mussolini. He's an anti-Semite to the core.
No, I've spent lots of time with him and I've never heard him.
He may not go around doing the Hitler salute, but his whole worldview is the Jews are Christ killers, satanic people. Like, look at his writing, always talking about the Jewish rejection of Christ. The man is the biggest anti-Semite in New York City. Columbia has been trying to fire him for years.
We should get going.
I'm sorry. I really am. I don't know either of you.
It's perfectly fine.
I'm sorry to bother you. You two are on a date or... Look, I'll only say this. My mother's family was from Libya. It was an old Jewish family going back many generations. We don't even know how far back. Libya was an Italian colony, but things were okay for the Jews until the Italian fascists came to power and started passing all these anti-Semitic laws. Italian fascists who were allied with the Nazis. That's when things got bad. The beginning of the end for a community going back thousands of years. And those people being celebrated in that building and being worshipped by Edmund Sadie as truth tellers, They contributed to the destruction of the world my mother came from. When I see that art, I can't separate it from everything else I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Sylvia exits. Henry and Chelsea watch her go.
I ordered us fried dumplings. Oh gosh, I should have asked, do you keep kosher?
No.
Okay, good. I mean, not good, but I mean, kosher, right? Good Jews keep kosher.
I guess.
I wasn't insulting kosher, but the food I ordered is definitely not kosher, so.
I got what you meant.
We can start with the dumplings and then move on to the house special. Some beef thing with a mystery sauce. They don't actually tell you what it is.
Should we just talk about what happened?
She's crazy? What do you want me to say? I mean, she just harassed us on the street.
It's like you triggered her with the mention of this guy's name, Sadi. How well do you know him?
I know him.
You took a class with him?
Not exactly, but he did teach me a lot.
Then what?
I sought him out. I went to a few of his lectures. I mean, he was like this oddity. Our conservative Catholic thinker on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. Brilliant, well-dressed, so I don't know. I just went up to him after one of his lectures and asked if he could recommend a book for me to read. And he did.
What book?
The Concept of the Political by Carl Schmitt.
Carl Schmitt?
So I read it. It's funny because I went up to him after the lecture and he was like, Carl Schmitt, Concept of the Political, off the cuff or whatever. It's a short book. So I read it and like 2 weeks later, I went into his office and he's hunched over his desk lamp on, and he's reading, scribbling away. And I knock on the door and he looks up at me and he's like, who are you? And I say, you don't remember me? And I can see he's searching or whatever, like who I am. And he apologizes because he can't place me. And I say, you told me to read The Concept of the Political. And I did. And now I'm here to talk to you about it. And he was just floored. Like I'd passed some test. So he took me out to dinner a bunch of times and told me what books to read. Modern novels are shit, he would say. He'd kind of subtly press religious literature. Maybe not so subtly. Like, maybe I'd start thinking about Christ. Actually, now that she mentioned it, I realize that sometimes he would casually slip into conversation that he had a Jewish friend who converted to Catholicism, how fulfilled her life was.
You liked him.
I did. I do.
You like him. You hang out with him, laugh at his jokes, see art exhibits he recommends.
We were together for a while.
Together?
He was my boyfriend, I guess. I mean, he's not anymore. He kind of cut it off. But
Do you sleep with him? You did. You slept with him. And what? He stopped talking to you, so you decided to go see this exhibit he recommended as a way to, what, get back in graces?
something like that. But it's over.
Why did you? What did you see in him?
He was sexy. I mean, he thought he was more impressive than he actually was, but the way he talked about literature and God, it was impressive. And he took me seriously. At least I thought he did.
Couldn't he get in trouble for having a relationship with you?
I guess, technically. But it was all consensual, so.
Do you know who Carl Schmitt is?
German thinker. You've heard of him?
Carl Schmitt was a Nazi. Edmund Sadi told you to read a book by a Nazi. I mean, he was a political philosopher, sure, but his philosophy was used to justify Nazism, persecution of the Jews.
Okay, I get it, Henry. That is shocking. And maybe I'm stupid for not knowing that, or maybe I didn't want to know, or maybe I secretly did know and ignored it. But he told me about things about life that made sense, about how you could live a life or think about death. And I'm not going to have you or whoever that crazy woman was tell me that it wasn't meaningful or that I should just drop it, because sometimes unpleasant truths are still true.
Come on, let's go. Food will get cold.
She reaches out her arm, which he takes. They exit arm in arm. Blackout. First interlude. Title card or projection. Summer rolls on. Back in the apartment, Henry and Chelsea settle into their shared space. A series of brief moments to indicate the passage of time. Quiet blackouts or lighting changes between each one. Music plays throughout the interlude. Henry and Chelsea move through a languorous summer. They come in and out of their rooms, sometimes noticing the other, sometimes running straight for the door. Henry reads from a book of poems by T.S. Eliot. Chelsea reads over his shoulder. She touches him on the shoulder. Chelsea naps on the couch. Henry looks at her while trying to read. Henry comes on stage in his boxers and no shirt, reading through a notebook and making edits. Chelsea, in the living room, sees him. It is embarrassing at first, but then they both shrug it off and start laughing. Chelsea runs out of the apartment in some kind of great hurry, while Henry watches her go from the sitting table where he tries to work. Henry rips several pages out of a notebook and throws them in the garbage can in extreme frustration. Chelsea talks on the phone.
Hi, Mom. How's it going?
Chelsea stirs from a nap on the couch. Henry is eager to speak with her.
You up?
If you made coffee, I'm up.
Did you hear about this new show, Survivor?
No, what is it?
It's a bunch of people stranded on an island, but by choice. They vote each other off and the winner gets a big prize. They call it reality TV.
Sounds kind of dumb.
Show's really popular, but I bet it gets old real fast. I can't imagine as much of a future.
Henry goes off to take a nap. The music changes and the lights dim. It is late at night. There's wine about, blue moonlight through the windows, re-roll into scene 6, late at night. Henry and Chelsea are mid-conversation. They are drinking wine and music is playing in the background. They are fairly well dressed for an evening at home, but more casual than you would wear on a date. They are both a little drunk, just a little.
And I was standing on a dance floor of the balcony of this Italian restaurant in Federal Hill, closed to the public, but open for us. A band playing, a real band, not a DJ. Someone's father had paid for it, and the band is playing Delilah.
Tom Jones?
Well, the singer was not Tom Jones. Only Tom Jones is Tom Jones. And if he were Tom Jones, he wouldn't be wasting a Saturday night playing a fraternity's annual social.
Social?
Dance? Gala?
You said it was a social.
We might have called it a social.
Like in 8th grade, we're going to have a social.
You're missing the scene, Dragon Lady.
Delilah. But not Tom Jones.
It was the Tom Jones arrangement, you know.
He's about to sing.
Hush, puppy.
I want to impress you.
Did you go up to one of your fraternity brothers, wrap your arm around his shoulders, and belt it out? That kind of man thing that men do?
Get the scene.
I'm getting it, hush puppy.
And there's the disco ball.
Disco ball at the social.
And it's blinking like Christmas. No. Like Thing de Cecily, Vienna, neon pastels.
Like a sweet 16 party.
And everyone is dressed so nicely, and the girls are dressed very nicely, and people are drinking, and we're all underage. Well, most of us are underage, but you know how it is.
Tell me, please.
The bartender gives the guys rum and coke without the rum, a ball buster, a nut cruncher. He puts your fucking nuts in a vice and smashes them on the floor.
Classy.
But the bartender did do one thing that made his Florida patent suspenders tolerable. The girls.
Spiked their drinks?
Well, I wouldn't say spiked. I would say he was generous. I would say IDs were not an issue for the ladies.
And so you learned an important lesson.
And what's that?
Men are scum.
You wanted to know, Dragon Lady. I'm just letting you into the inner sanctum of my guyness.
Try to get us frisky because you can't do it on your own.
It is what it is.
I'm not so impressed with the inner sanctum of guyness. You were getting less and less hot by the minute. Before this story, I was actually thinking about giving you a blowjob, and now that's just the prospect of that is just it's just not happening.
I'm crushed.
He goes on.
Everybody's feeling good.
Goes on long after he should have stopped.
Everybody's looking good.
As if I care.
Everybody smells good, which is just something about a woman's perfume. It has a kind of narcotic effect. It dulls the mind.
Is the story over, Horn Dog?
And so I'm dancing with her, and there's all this perfume and tight clothing, and our faces are next to each other. I feel her breathing on my neck, her chest exhaling. We're dancing, and we're not talking. We are holding each other, our arms, our bodies. It's tender. The music slows. Every else is just fading away. A little strand of her hair falls onto her forehead, and I brush it back, and she gives me this little smile. And this, dragon lady, this.
What?
That's the end of the story.
That's not the end of the story.
It's my story. I'm pretty well sure when it's over.
Something embarrassing happened next, right? Something embarrassing always happens when it gets romantic.
Nothing embarrassing happened.
Did you jizz all over yourself standing there?
No. In fact,
What?
I didn't want it to become sexual.
So, you and your fraternity brothers collude with a bartender to get these girls drunk and frisky. You dance up close and you want to tell me how this isn't sexual.
I'm telling you,
The conversation has broken down.
It's a nice story, Henry. I'm happy for you.
Are you happy?
What do you want me to say? You danced. It was romantic. Great.
Are you happy?
It's your story, Henry. Doesn't matter what I think.
I think I'm gonna call it.
Henry heads towards his room.
How did it end?
With our dance.
There's always something more.
There isn't always something more. Sometimes things just end.
I want to know what else happened because now I'm curious.
She smiled at me, and we danced some more, and we held each other some more. And this went on for a while. I don't know. At some point, maybe 10 minutes, maybe an hour, she bites my ear. It's very erotic. And she whispers. No introduction, no warm-up. She just whispers. She says, "You're the first boy I've gone out with in a while." Fine, good, great. But then she's like, since high school, I've only been dating girls. She said girls. And last week I broke up with a long-term girlfriend. I'm not sure if I want to go out with guys or girls. I thought I would date another woman, but you're confusing me right now. As I dance with you, I'm confused. And she didn't say another word, not one more word the whole night. But she took her hand and rubbed the back of it against my chest, against my cheek, like this. Most romantic moment of my life. Do you understand? We barely spoke after that night.
Did your dad kill someone?
Fuck you.
I'm not very tactful.
I think you like to shock. I think you get upset when you're not the most shocking person in the room.
We're fast friends now. You spilled your guts. You've told me about the most romantic moment in your life. Think of me as a repository for your secrets. I'll be that girl for you, Henry. Don't men need someone to unburden themselves to?
You want to unburden? Tell me why you're here. Why didn't you go with your parents? And most of all, tell me why you peed all over yourself the first night I was here, because that's not something I can unsee.
I heard your dad was drunk, then got called in for an emergency surgery and was too chicken shit to admit that he was blasted and ended up operating on someone who died. That's what I heard. That your dad is a drunken surgeon who killed some poor father on the operating table, and now he's getting sued for every last dime and might even lose his medical license.
I'm not taking the bait. I'm not going to hit you or scream or call you names or do any of the things you think you want me to, so you can prove something about what kind of horrible person I am.
Don't defend your father if that's what he did. We all do things, Henry. And if that's what he did, that's what he did. I'm not trying to bait you.
Good night, Dragon Lady.
I know what it's like to have a fucked up father.
Looks like he gave you a pretty nice house to live in, food to eat, house guests to keep you entertained.
Fancy prison.
You're so delicate, a delicate flower.
Delicate?
I'm trying to be sensitive.
You suck at it.
And maybe we shouldn't talk anymore.
Why?
Because I'm terrified of upsetting your... whatever.
Whatever?
Yes, whatever.
You want to be a writer and the best you have for me is whatever?
Sometimes it's better if the words only hint at what we can mean.
Especially given that I'm a little messed up in the head.
At least you admit it.
Well, I am a little messed up. I get terrible anxiety. I have a stack of pills by my nightstand. They make me calm. They make me happy. Sometimes they even turbocharge my sex drive. Okay, they don't really do that, but a girl can hope, can't we?
And do you?
What?
Do you hope?
Do you think I'm pretty?
He does not answer.
I think I'm pretty. I think I'm very pretty. But I don't know what that means. I don't know what pretty is, so I'm not sure that I even want it. It's like glue on my arm. It doesn't really belong there. Pretty? So what? Says who? Guys look at me in a bathing suit and they want to jerk off and I'm supposed to be like, wow.
Would you rather guys notice you for your charming personality?
It doesn't matter. If I want to have sex, I'll have sex. It's not like there's a shortage of people to have sex with. Believe me, Henry, I can fuck anyone I want.
Like your Nazi boyfriend, Edmund Sadie.
Fuck you.
Did you speak to him? Tell him about the exhibit?
I did.
And?
And what?
What did he say?
He said, great. He was glad I enjoyed it. I really want to believe that it was more than just a younger woman being taken advantage of by an older man.
Well, why did he end it?
I don't know. One day he just said it was over. Maybe it was because he hates sex.
Doesn't sound like he hates sex.
On some level he did. On some level it disgusted him. Thought it was dirty. Two bodies rubbing together. And he hated how much he wanted it. How much he desired women. Especially young women. Celibacy was this true ideal, godly or something, like for priests. You see, Henry, he could admit what he desired, even if it revolted him.
What are you saying?
He never gave me any bullshit like what you told me about a woman holding your face and somehow you didn't want it to be sexual. That's just pretending.
I'm sorry you think that. It means you just don't understand something which I find important.
What's that?
Intimacy.
Intimacy. I understand it. I understand that I don't want it. I'm perfectly happy to use a toy or a dildo because I come so much better when I'm alone. Does that bother you?
No?
It does. The thought of it in your mind, me giving myself pleasure alone and being happy with that. You don't like it. Don't like it at all. I mean, is sex really that great? You got this person next to you and they're just there in all their personness. Sometimes I just want to orgasm and I don't need a person, you know, someone who's unhappy with their job or who wants me to do the laundry or, I mean, a person is a lot. It's more than I can handle on most days.
I wasn't talking about sex. I was talking about what happens when two people, what can happen.
Chelsea goes over to the boombox on the table. She goes through some CDs, finding one she's looking for, turns it on. She puts on something like Maria by Blondie.
The more I think about it, yes, I find it most unfortunate that another person is required for intimacy.
She starts dancing to the music, ignoring Henry. He watches her. Slowly and reluctantly, he starts dancing too. Blackout, end of scene, end of Act 1. Act 2, Scene 7. It is late. Blue moonlight streams through the windows. We hear the front door open from offstage left.
Just hang on a minute.
Henry comes on stage. He is sharply dressed for a date. He looks around the apartment, checks the kitchen, looks in Chelsea's room, the master suite, etc. When he is satisfied the apartment is empty,
Okay, come on in.
Sylvia enters. She is dressed attractively, but conservatively.
I wanted to make sure she wouldn't disturb Chelsea, but she's not here.
Beautiful.
Let me find the lights in this cavern.
No,
You prefer the ambient darkness?
it has a certain
Yes, yes.
shivery something, kind of romantic.
Romance is needed for a good life. a life of walking, long walks on the beach, or at night through a cold, indifferent city, the flaneur life.
Ooh la la.
I've always been inappropriately captivated by a certain view of Paris, that violent city, that decadent city. Have you been to Paris?
3 times.
Really?
I studied there for a semester in college. Once I went on a family vacation, and once I
What?
went with a guy.
Oh,
I thought we were getting married. He didn't.
when was that?
I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. If I'm being honest, I've never really been impressed with Paris.
No?
I mean, the architecture is lovely, and the museums and the opera, but the French, I don't know. I'm not in love with the French. Their pronounced superiority, their secularism. But I think it's great that you love Paris. I mean, you want to be a writer. Writers love Paris. It's a thing. I've heard it before.
You have?
When I was at Yale, I took a course in interwar literature, and it was all about Gertrude Stein and Hemingway and the left bank. You want to be like Hemingway. So Paris, yes. Paris. Who doesn't love Paris? I get it.
Well, you're a writer, aren't you? A journalist?
Not the kind that loves Paris.
Can I get you anything to eat or drink? Or
Drink.
there's beer, wine. I think there's some vodka somewhere.
Diet Coke.
We have that too.
I'm not much of a drinker of alcohol. I mean, never really developed a taste for it, and I don't like being drunk.
Henry goes off right towards the kitchen to get soft drinks. He is just off stage for the next dialogue.
If not Paris, then which city?
Jerusalem,
Really?
the eternal capital of the Jews.
I wouldn't have guessed.
It's where my grandparents moved when they left Libya.
Henry re-enters.
Oh.
Hands her the drink.
It was back in 67 after the 6-day Arab-Israeli war. After Israel won the war, there were these revenge riots against Jews all over Libya. Looting, property destroyed, synagogues burned, people killed. There were only about 7,000 Jews in Libya in 67. They all left.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I had no idea.
It's not a history that gets taught all that much. Anyway, my mother went with my grandparents to Jerusalem. It was like a homecoming to a place they'd never been before. I guess because of that, Jerusalem has always been a special place to me. I grew up going there. Have you been to Israel?
For like 3 days for my cousin's bar mitzvah when I was 8.
You should go back. Spend some time there. Maybe we can go together sometime. Sorry, that came out wrong.
How'd you end up here?
My mother came to the United States for college. Met my father, had some kind of romance. I don't know. They're always hazy on the details. I think they got married and my mother got pregnant right before my dad went to Vietnam. He was drafted, but he wasn't in combat. Fixed radios or something.
What's an amazing story?
So what's next for you?
Me? Nothing so important as that. I have a fellowship back at Brown for the next year. Do a little teaching. Hope to finish my book. And then hope to sell the book. Have it become a national bestseller so I never have to work another day in my life. What?
There's so much I want to do. Retirement in my 30s would just seem...
You're in your 30s? That came out really wrong. I've just been horrible. I have a weird confession to make.
Go on.
I've never dated anyone older. I'm not opposed to it. In fact, I think it's kind of cool. A symbol of growing up. But can I ask you something?
Of course.
What did you write about the exhibit, Italian Futurism?
You can read it. It'll be out in a month or so.
Sneak preview?
I wrote that, well, that the art was impressive, but I couldn't look at it without feeling a sense of the real world consequence of the evil it inspired. The evil is glorified. I'm kind of worried about the response because I know some people believe we need to separate the art from the artist and just look at the craft. And I get that argument, and I even agree with it on some level. I mean, I'm not calling for censorship, but I just think the glorification of war and violence is nothing to celebrate, even if the craft is good.
I look forward to reading the article.
I was glad to hear from you. I was impressed you found me.
Sylvia Farid Katz is apparently not the most common of names.
Touche.
Did you want to take a walk or something? There's a good cafe not far from here.
I don't mind sitting for a few minutes.
Sure. I mean, if it's not too weird.
Weird how?
Like we're sitting in someone else's house.
Looks to me like it's yours. At least for now.
Blackout. Scene 8. Title card or projection. The next morning. Chelsea is seated on the couch reading the newspaper, sipping a cup of coffee. Henry enters from the guest suite in a t-shirt and shorts. Hair a bit disheveled. They look at each other.
You in the mood for a Danish?
A Danish?
Like a sweet roll, maybe a cherry Danish.
I don't usually eat that stuff.
How about you eat one today?
I'm not committing to a whole sweet roll, but maybe a bite.
You know, I'm in the mood for a cherry Danish. And that little cart down the street, normally I don't eat from carts on New York City streets, but that one guy, if you get there before 9, the stuff is fresh. So I think I'm going to meander my way down there. Can I get you something? Can I bring something back for you?
Can you?
This is my attempt to be gallant.
Black coffee.
Ever the adventurer.
You asked. Henry,
Yes, my dear.
is there someone in your room? You had sex last night. Just admit it. Say yes, Chelsea. I got my fuck on last night.
Your delicateness is legendary.
You pretend to be highbrow above it all, you know, immune to normal human desire, but you are just a raging bundle of hormones like everyone else.
What were you doing last night?
Ecstasy.
Seriously?
Went over to a friend of mine, guy I know from growing up, not a boyfriend, just a friend. Did some watched some neon colored shapes move on his computer screen. A profound experience until the effects wore off, and it dawned on me that we were watching neon shapes move on his computer screen. I got home at maybe 3:30, and you two were fucking. Loud, Henry. Loud. I kind of wanted to join in.
I'm going to go have some coffee.
Who's in there exactly? Where did you meet her? Did you mention her before? Is this serious? Going to become a regular occurrence?
Coffee's good, but I still want a sweet roll.
Al Gore picked Joe Lieberman to be his running mate.
No shit.
It's all over the news.
A Jewish vice president?
They've got to win first.
Who'd have thunk? It's going to be a Jew in the White House. They're going to close on Shabbos.
I don't think they'll close the White House on Shabbos.
They'll close Lieberman's part of the White House because he needs to daven to Hashem.
They'll never win. I'm not sure I want them to.
Why?
Because everything bad which happens in this country will be blamed on the Jews. They'll say Lieberman is secretly controlling Gore or something.
Don't you think people have evolved beyond that kind of thinking?
No. What happens if Miss Moan is in there, wakes up?
Fast asleep, Dragon Lady. She is fast asleep.
Henry waves dramatically, then disappears out the door. Chelsea, alone on stage. She looks around, thinking. She goes to her shelf and finds a massive volume of the complete works of William Shakespeare. It is a doorstop. She goes and stands near the entrance of Henry's suite, presses her ear against the door, listens a moment. She takes the book, holds it over her head, and then throws it with full force onto the floor. Nothing happens. Chelsea is disappointed. She picks the book up again, then throws it at the door to Henry's suite, causing a loud crash. Sylvia comes running out, quickly putting on her clothes from the night before.
What was that?
Oh, you're up.
Chelsea?
Are you the girl from the Guggenheim?
Yes. Sylvia.
Blackout. Scene 9. Later that morning, Henry, Sylvia, and Chelsea are sitting around drinking coffee and eating sweet rolls.
Well, I really should get going, but thank you so much, both of you.
So we'll talk later?
Yes, but I won't be available tonight because I'm going to be tied up at a fundraiser for the American supporters of Likud.
The what?
American supporters of Likud, the Likud party in Israel. It's the American fundraising arm. We're having a speaker tonight who's going to explain why those peace talks at Camp David this summer between Israeli and the Palestinian Authority are not only going to fail spectacularly, but also why they are so dangerous. I had a great night last night.
Me too.
By the way, you both should come to the Salute to Israel parade next Sunday.
What's that?
Come on, like every Jewish organization in the country sends a group to march down Fifth Avenue and celebrate Israel. You should come. Left, right, secular, religious, everyone's there. I'm going to march with the American supporters of Likud, and we're going to be holding signs attacking the latest round of peace talks, but there will be plenty of Jewish lefties out there in support.
Jewish lefties?
The people who want to give up sovereignty in Judah and Samaria and create an Arab state in Israel. But we need to hold on to everything we have and not get taken in by fake peace offers, no matter how good it looks on the New York Times. Because the Arabs will never accept a Jewish state in the Middle East. Never.
Definitely something to think about. Actually, I really don't know what to say. I was kind of hopeful about the peace talks.
I was too.
In any event, at the parade, we come together to celebrate the miracle of Israel.
Maybe we'll go.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to. My family is very conservative. We're strong supporters of Benjamin Netanyahu. I hope.
Totally fine. But you're going to be late, and I need to get working on today's writing.
Of course. Chelsea, thanks for the hospitality.
Anytime.
She leans in to kiss Henry. It ends up an awkward kiss on the cheek.
Bye.
Bye.
She exits. Henry sees her off. Henry returns.
Benjamin Netanyahu? That guy just lost the last election for prime minister. He's finished. Yesterday's politician. I think those peace talks this summer will be successful, and soon the whole conflict will be over.
Can I tell you what I think is going through her head right now? She's like, I blew it with that guy.
Nah, she probably thinks I'm a naive liberal American Jew. That's what all those right-wingers think. They predict doom and gloom.
She likes you. She fucked you on the first date. And now she thinks that you think she's some right-wing lunatic.
Well, sounds like she is.
I'm telling you, that girl, she grew up wealthy, right? Like, she dresses nice. She's going to a fundraiser tonight. You following me?
Spell it out.
She's desperate.
Stop.
Fine. You know better.
Okay, tell me.
She wants a husband. She wants kids. She's trying to rope you in with the promise of a lifetime of great sex. It's a fairly naked ploy. No pun intended. But it reeks of sadness, the bitter sting of life.
Yeah, don't be mean.
And now she thinks it's over because she stepped into the no man's land of politics.
Maybe you're right.
How was it?
Good.
That bad, huh? What she lacks in imagination, she makes up for it. Speed. I get it. She has an appreciation for your dirty mind. She has
My mind is not dirty.
I think it is.
You're jealous.
I want you to have a great sex life. That's important.
Why?
Because you have a nice cock.
What?
Why? Are you embarrassed?
No.
You shouldn't be.
When did you see it?
Don't freak out, okay? Before I tell you, I want you to promise me you won't freak out.
Okay. When did you see it?
All right. So one time you fell asleep on the couch in just your boxers. Your head was on the cushion and you had your little book open on your chest and your hands are kind of fallen to your side and your breathing was rhythmic and peaceful and there was a smile on your face. You were someplace happy, almost as if you were with someone, giggling. I was very curious about what you were dreaming, what you were seeing. It was late, maybe 3 a.m, and I was restless. Wasn't feeling all that well. Came out to get a drink of water and saw you. The lights were out except for this little lamp by the couch. And your chest went up and down, slowly, up and down. And sure enough, I see your cock getting hard. And I saw it grow. And it found its way to a hole in your boxers and it just stuck out. And that was it. It was beautiful, elegant, built for pleasure, Henry, your pleasure. And I just think, what a shame it would be if that cock wasn't properly appreciated, played with, touched.
Did you touch it?
No,
Did you want to?
I was curious.
Did I say anything? Mumble in my sleep?
Chelsea.
What?
You said Chelsea. What is it you want, Henry? What would make you happy?
I should get back to work on my novel.
Should we,
What?
I'm gonna start talking soon, so.
should we go to the Israel parade?
Blackout. Scene 10. Title card or projection 1 week later. Suddenly, without warning, Hebrew religious dance music is blasted throughout the apartment. Henry enters from the kitchen area, stage right, carrying the boombox, hips shaking, high energy. After another moment, Chelsea enters from her room, also with arms waving, hips shaking. They dance close, they dance apart, they dance in a traditional Jewish aura, in a circle. At one point, Chelsea pulls out a large Israeli flag. They dance with the flag, they hold the flag between them and spin around. They dance front to front, front to back to front, back to back. The dance goes on. There is manic energy. There is this sexual energy. There is an adolescent bar mitzvah type energy. They are absolutely exhausted. The song ends. They fall on the couch, breathless.
Enjoy the parade?
Only because I get to see you dance like that.
Little awkward with Sylvia.
Killed her that we were marching with the peace groups. She did have that one wave, right? That little seductive wave she gave you.
I saw that.
Spoken to her much?
Just to tell her we were coming.
You know who else loves Israel?
Your dad?
Edmund Saadi.
Your Nazi boyfriend.
Don't change the subject. He loved Israel, thought it was the greatest, saw it as this quasi-messianic development in human history. The Jews returned to their homeland.
Is this you trying to tell me he's not an anti-Semite?
Can you be anti-Semite and still love Israel?
Let's ask Sylvia.
Saadi believes the biggest mistake that liberals make is to think that every problem has a solution. That somehow we're becoming more wise, more capable, more enlightened, just through the passage of time. He believes progressive thinking is the worst form of idolatry because it gives his history a kind of mystical legitimacy. Like all we need is goodwill and hard work and a belief in progress and our problems will be solved. He believes that man, Saadi only spoke in masculine pronouns. He believes that man is fallen. Man is hopelessly tainted by original sin, and the only time things will truly get better is when Christ returns to earth. When Israel stands up for itself, the Jews refuse to allow themselves to become victims again. To Saadi, that is the true faith of our time, rejecting a false messiah of progress.
And what do you think?
It appeals to me on some level.
Why?
It's an honest way of looking at the bad things that happen, the bad things I feel.
Have you heard anything more from him?
He's not returning my calls.
There was something else I wanted to ask you. Your birthday's coming up in just a few days. Have you given any more thought about what you want to do for the birthday game?
No, not really.
She gets up, heads to her room, leaves Henry alone. Blackout. Scene 11. Title card or projection, the day before Chelsea's birthday. It is afternoon, sharp, bright sunlight through the windows, several colorful balloons placed about the room, light music from the boombox. Henry is on stage alone, wearing a red party hat. He hangs a large poster with the phrase Chelsea's birthday game in uneven, hand-painted letters across the wall. After hanging up the poster, Henry sets out a batch of board games on the sitting table, checkers, risk, sorry, etc. He places another, smaller sign next to them, which says, potential birthday games? As he works, the outside light dims, making it clear that Henry's been working on this for some time. Chelsea enters from the unseen front door, upstage left. She carries 2 large shopping bags, sees what he's doing, stops and looks. Caught somewhere between touched and shocked, she takes a moment, touches the games, looks at the poster. Henry watches her.
It's not fair to make you do it.
Whatever you want. Isn't that the point anyway? Whatever you want.
Some friends wanted to take me out for dinner.
Oh.
I didn't invite you,
But
there's a guy they want me to meet. Having you there might create the wrong impression.
it's fine.
If I went, what would you do? Maybe call Sylvia?
She's not around. I
Oh,
told her I was busy.
it was really nice of you to set this up.
Chelsea disappears into her room with the shopping bags. Henry watches her go. Henry takes out a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, sets them out. He fills one and sips, leaving the other one empty. He sits down on the couch, reads from a tattered copy of Freud's Civilization and Its Discontents. Evening turns to night. Henry glances towards Chelsea's room. Nothing stirs. The phone rings. No one answers. It continues to ring, then stops. Finally, Chelsea emerges from her bedroom, dressed smartly, as if going to a party.
You look great, party girl.
I set my friends up. I was supposed to meet them an hour ago.
I think they tried to call.
Your bedroom, the guest suite.
Yeah?
Did you ever wonder how it became available for the summer? It was being used by Jeanette, an exchange student from Ireland. Had this cute accent and wavy red hair. My father was way into Jeanette, always praising her and giving her little gifts, spending money, touching her elbow at the breakfast table. It was pretty clear where things were going. I mean, oldest cliche in the book, right? Older man, young, impressionable woman, kind of like me and Edmund Sadi, right? I know you're thinking it. Anyway, he basically said to my mother she had to let him screw around with her. The bastard was sort of like, this is happening. I don't want to do it behind your back. You can leave me if you don't like it, or you can tolerate it. But if you say no, I'm leaving. I mean, there was no hiding it. The bedroom is right there. And they did it nightly. My mom would go to sleep. I would go to sleep. Well, I would go into my room. And 2 hours later, I would hear him fumbling around finding her. And she would protest a little, like, tonight, really, I was sleeping. And he would insist, come on, I'll be quick. You'll hardly even notice. I just need it. You're so fucking hot. I can't stop thinking about you. And then I'd hear the moaning. He used to like it when she said his name with her Irish accent. Can you imagine for a moment what it's like to hear your own father fucking a woman your own age in the next room? Hear her calling out his name? But who am I to complain? I guess it was overdue. My dad fucking around. It happened to all my mom's friends. Every single one of them. Husbands fucked around. It's just something you put up with. You kind of hoped it went away at some point and didn't take over everything. Divorce was just unthinkable. Not at this stage in life. If you're a middle-aged wife. That's why I'm not going to be a middle-aged wife. My mother told her friends, which was a mistake because it got around and was humiliating. It got so bad with their nightly fucking that my mom finally did threaten to leave. The awful consequences of divorce be damned. Faced with that prospect, my dad got it together. Told Jeanette she had to leave. Which makes you wonder, maybe mom should have said no in the first place, called his bluff. I mean, she really could have hurt him in a divorce. And as strange as it sounds, I do think he loved her. Jeanette got all huffy about it. Like, why do I have to suffer the consequences of your infidelity? Where should I live now? And these were fair questions, but he had an answer, my wonderful father. A big goodbye check, something like 20 grand. Have fun, he said. My dad begged my mom to forgive him. Said he just needed a change for a while, but was ready to be faithful again. Monogamy only works if you can break it from time to time. Promised never to do it again. She kind of brushed off the excuses, but said if he wanted to stay, he needed to take the whole summer off. She made him take the leave of absence at the firm. Full summer, no work, no phone calls, nothing, total break, and he agreed.
And they wanted you to go.
Yeah. I had trouble last year, panic attacks, lots of drinking.
Because of this?
Who knows? I mean, you remember how we first met. Me, not at my best. I freaked the fuck out and peed all over myself. Why? Why did that happen? Is it because Sadie wasn't nice to me, or because I felt guilty, or because of what my father did, or because I was lonely and needed attention? Who knows why people do things? I don't believe in cause and effect. I don't think there's a reason or one reason. I was having panic attacks, shortness of breath. That's life. That's what happens. There is no why, no narrative to explain it. It's just bare life. We're trapped in these awful bodies. We're made sick with desires which can't ever be satisfied. Because you see, on some level, I understand why my father did what he did. He longed for something. Jeanette was beautiful. It must have tortured him to see her every day. Her body, her skin, her voice.
A beep from the clock. They both perk up.
Happy birthday to you.
The birthday game.
22, right?
Old before my time.
Your time is your time.
Henry fills the second glass of wine and refills his own. They clink and drink.
I had a dream last night that my father died. We buried him, had a funeral. My mother was there, but she wasn't sad. She wore a red suit and high heels, not appropriate for a funeral.
And how did you feel?
Happy for him.
Happy?
He no longer had to be alive.
Chelsea. Fuck.
What's so great about it? Life, I mean, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Do you go to bed with a sense of accomplishment? Or do you just try and get through the day to waste the hours looking forward to the moment when you can drift off to sleep? I mean, that's the whole point of the birthday game, isn't it? It seems shocking because if we all got what we really wanted, the world would be over. It would be impossible. What we really desire is too mean or sick or evil or just not practically feasible. And so we accommodate ourselves to having our desires thwarted. That's the thing about desire. Without it, we're blank things. With it, we're unsatisfied. If we act on it, we're criminals. If we deny it, we suffer. Like, what do you want now, Henry? What do you truly want?
She places her hand on him, touching him gently, rubbing his body. Then she presses her hand into his crotch. He looks at her, touches her face.
We live these lives, sometimes these very long lives, built around denying our most basic wants. We're told to be ashamed of them, to repress them, to channel them into some productive activity, like playing frisbee on a hot summer afternoon. We don't live human lives, Henry. Truly human lives would be monstrous. We're horrified. I'm sorry.
She lets go and steps away.
We're horrified by the idea that someone might actually get what they want for their birthday. I would like to die. Not for real. Don't let your heart race too fast. More specifically, I would like to have my funeral. A kind of anticipatory reenactment.
A funeral?
It's the best time in a person's life, and you're not even there for it. All those friends you haven't seen or spoken to in years show up, those relatives you can't stand say nice things about you. The irony of a funeral is that it is truly one of life's great times. People put their differences aside and celebrate the life of the departed. Life would be great, Henry, if we all acted the way we did at funerals. Let's play the birthday game.
Blackout. Scene 12. Dead of night. Several hours later. The apartment is set up for a gothic funeral. The couch cushions have been placed in a row on the floor, covered with a sheet, mimicking a coffin. On either side of the coffin are pictures of Chelsea, dressed for the prom, playing in the schoolyard, etc. Mournful music plays from the boombox situated on a nearby table. Chelsea and Henry enter from stage right. Chelsea is dressed in black, wearing a black lace veil and a black pillbox hat. Henry follows her, wearing a black suit, white shirt, and black tie. They walk slowly, circling the apartment. They nod and shake hands as if they are other people there with them. Finally, they gather behind the coffin, stand, look down at it. Henry goes over and turns the music off.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining as we celebrate the life of Chelsea Weiss. I am here with Henry Jacobson, a man who is destined to become a failed writer. Chelsea spent her last few months mostly alone with Henry in her parents' apartment. Henry tried to work on a strange novel about a painter after World War II. Henry knew nothing about painting, nothing about World War II, and nothing about the Amalfi Coast in Italy where the novel is set. Yet he wondered why the writing wasn't going well. Henry is lacking in self-knowledge, but in a way, that is one of his most endearing qualities. Henry is also sexually frustrated and repressed. Every day he looks longingly at Chelsea, at her firm, toned legs, shapely breasts, wind-swept hair, eyes that looked at him just so. Every once in a while, Chelsea even let him look up her skirt, although she pretended she was being casual. They were roommates, after all. Henry wondered if and how he might make a move, wondered if she might desire him as he desired her. Chelsea did find Henry attractive, especially his general cluelessness, which is really more a function of his being a man than anything else. For example, he never asked Chelsea to go on an actual date. He never offered to cook her dinner. He never proposed a romantic outing. Chelsea assumed the reason for this was because he was afraid that if she did not like him back, did not find him attractive, or if things went bad, it would make the rest of the summer awkward between them. To which Chelsea would have said, had she been here, if awkwardness is all you are risking, you are not risking much. Chelsea had a complicated relationship with her parents. Her father was a fucking asshole, a cheater, a philanderer. But he kept food on the table, the lights on, and provided a little extra spending money. Chelsea loved her mother, who put up with a lot. Chelsea did not always understand the life choices her mother made. But Chelsea learned from her mother that it is better never to have lived than to just get through the day. Getting through the day is no answer to life's big question, why are we here? Chelsea was confused by her relationship with Professor Edmund Soddy. Soddy did everything to woo her that Henry failed to do. After she came back to his office having read The Concept of the Political by Carl Schmitt, a book about dividing the world between friends and enemies and being willing to die for your friends and kill your enemies. Not a world of peace or love, but maybe closer to what's real. He took me out to dinner, Soddy. We drank red wine. He had a big, commanding voice and huge hands, twisted knuckles which looked like rotting tree roots. Took me back to his apartment, touched my back.
Chelsea lurches over, overcome with emotion. Henry, unsure of what to do, watches respectfully from a distance, giving her a chance to work through it. Slowly, she recomposes herself, then continues addressing the crowd.
Chelsea did not want to grow old and schedule endless trips to the doctor. Chelsea did not want to get married and grow increasingly resentful of a husband who was bound to cheat on her. Chelsea was not interested in driving carpool for her kids or spending long lunches talking to bored housewives. Chelsea is happier now that she's dead. Or if she's not happy because she's not alive, well, she's still better off. And thank you all for coming. Thank you, Henry. This was lovely. I feel much better now. Much, much better.
Henry looks at her quizzically. Chelsea turns on one light, which illuminates part of the apartment. Henry gently pulls her hand away from the light switch and turns it off again.
What?
Funeral's not over yet.
We can stop now.
He guides her back to the grave. Henry turns to an imaginary crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Henry Jacobson, and I was the last person to see Chelsea Weiss alive. I am not destined to be a failed writer. I have already failed. I'll tell you why. Chelsea was very wise in the world, far more than her young age might suggest. But still, there were things she didn't know, experiences she had not yet had. And what she did not realize, tragically, is that some of the darkness she felt, some of the despair, is quite common for young people, and eventually it goes away. Eventually you find your footing, and as I'm sure she would have ultimately have found hers. I wasn't much older than Chelsea, but I was sufficiently older to realize this. The most damaging influence on Chelsea was a vile older man, an anti-Semitic Nazi sympathizer named Edmund Saadi. He was seduced by his poetic language and darkly thrilling ideas. His vision of unredeemed world destined to endless violence. God as the only salvation and Jews as the enemy. I'm not a religious man. I do not fast on Yom Kippur or observe the Sabbath. But I know something about the faith of my fathers and mothers, my ancestors, my people, the Jews. They did not believe that the world was fated to darkness. They did not believe, even in the depths of despair, that we were doomed forever. They believed in the possibility of human action and held on to the hope of future redemption. And because I'm not articulate enough or knowledgeable enough, I was unable to communicate this to Chelsea, was unable to make it compelling. In fact, I'm not even sure I ever really tried. But that's not the only reason I'm a failed writer. I failed because I could not speak. I failed because I could not tell Chelsea that I had fallen completely in love with her, that every moment with her was filled with possibility and joy. I loved her, and yet she died because I failed to tell her that I wanted to be with her, that I wanted to turn this summer into a whole life, that I wanted to turn this into forever.
He pulls her close to him. They look at each other for a long moment. They begin kissing deeply, passionately. Blackout. Second interlude, sex. It is daytime. We hear Henry and Chelsea moaning in ecstasy from the suite. Chelsea comes out of the suite, exits into the kitchen, comes back from the kitchen carrying a carton of ice cream and 2 spoons. She goes back into the suite. More streams of ecstasy. The lights dim. It is evening. Sex continues. Wild. Henry, barely clothed, comes out of the suite carrying an empty carton of ice cream, throws it in the trash. Chelsea emerges from the suite, barely clothed. Henry comes back from the kitchen. They look at each other. They go back into the suite. More sex. The light dims to the sound of their moaning. Light comes up. Henry and Chelsea are holding each other closely on the couch.
Do you want to try it in my parents' room?
Is that weird?
They've got a much better bed in there.
Sure.
They exit towards the master bedroom with a great excitement. Lights dim. New moment. Henry is on his cell phone.
Sylvia, yeah, look, I don't think tomorrow's gonna work. Oh my gosh, I gotta go.
The lights dim. New moment. Henry and Chelsea wrapped together.
Should we skip today?
Yeah?
I mean, can I be honest?
Should I be nervous?
No, it's... I kind of miss our conversations a bit.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Actually, I've changed my mind. I'd like to fuck again. Maybe oral sex both ways?
All right, great.
Blackout. Scene 13. It is late morning. Henry and Chelsea are lying entangled on the couch. The telephone rings. Chelsea slowly gets up to answer, hoping whomever is calling will hang up before she answers. It continues to ring.
Hello? Mom, hi. Oh, wow. Good to hear from you. Fine, we're fine. No, nothing much going on. Just a lazy summer day. Nothing important.
Are you going to tell her?
What?
Are you going to tell her about us?
Chelsea waves him off as if she can't speak to him and talk on the phone at the same time.
So you two are having fun, I hope? Oh, yeah. I think Henry's been working on his novel. I'm not sure it's been coming on as well as he'd hoped, but yes, Henry has been a marvelous house guest for the most part. No, we rarely see each other. He works most days. I lay about the city, you know. That's right. Next week, is it? Wow, time flies, huh? Hard to believe the summer's almost over. Oh, I think I hear Dad in the background. Does he want to sit? Oh, okay. Well, thanks for the check-in. I'll look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. How long is Henry staying? You know, I really don't know. We haven't talked about it. I'll ask. Okay. Thanks, Mom. Love you too. Bye.
I should probably call and check in with the creative writing department at Brown. Make sure they're all set for me.
You have a room?
They have a little apartment for people who get this fellowship. It won't be like this, but it'll be fine.
Have you heard from Sylvia?
I haven't really been returning her calls.
She probably thinks you're playing hard to get. You should marry her.
Without delay.
She'll ground you.
And she's going to be a Hebrew school teacher. Isn't that cute? Indoctrinate the next generation of right-wing Zionists.
What I see an overwhelming niceness about her, a goodness. You can look forward to many well-cooked family meals, proper conversation about politics or the stock market.
I'm not sure. I think her parents want her to marry a doctor or something. I'm just a wayward writer. My job prospects are hardly secure. And that's important when daddy's in real estate. Sometimes I think we disappoint our parents.
Isn't that a child's job?
No, seriously. Your grandfather was a labor organizer who lived a hard life on the Lower East Side. Your father's a successful lawyer moving in respectable society and voting Republican.
My father's an asshole.
He may be. The point is the same.
What point?
My father worked hard to become a doctor only to have me become a layabout. I mean, it's not that he isn't supportive of my writing. It's just he doesn't really understand it. It seems to him like, well, the idea that I would take a summer off to write is just, Sylvia's father might be less understanding. And I'm really not looking to be that disappointing son-in-law who fails to provide for their princess.
But you're cute and well-spoken and you went to Brown.
I'm cute and well-spoken?
They might think, if the writing doesn't work out, you can always go back to law school or something.
You sound like my grandmother.
Or you can work in Daddy's real estate business. There are so few men of quality, so few up to her standards.
Stop.
That to find one, even one who's not perfect, is something to be cherished, cultivated. You can be cultivated. Had I not been so fucked up, I too could have been like Sylvia, a Jewish princess with a successful father. But I became the Freudian death drive incarnate. I have a temporal view of life, Henry. I move towards inertia. I find sexual excitement in the prospect of oncoming.
I don't think you're making sense even to yourself.
Blank, nothing, emptiness, a lack of desire, a big, empty oncoming.
You're still a dragon lady, a barracuda with sweet-smelling perfume.
I want to feel the pleasure of the body. I want that more than making the body last. I'm not looking to build something. I'm looking to be something.
Only a 22-year could say that earnestly.
I'm trying to tell you something. I'm not sure you're listening, and I'm not sure you're ready to hear it.
Go on.
Sylvia is a prize, a debutante among Scarsdale Jews, princess of the airing committee, the queen of stomps.
You're not nice.
So don't listen to what I'm saying.
I'll be in the suite.
You know what your problem is?
I guess I'm about to find out.
You think I'm kidding?
I think I met a nice girl. We've gone out a few times, and you're not totally happy about it for understandable reasons.
You're flattering yourself.
And you're protesting too much.
At some point, Henry, you're going to realize that I'm on your side.
Okay, thank you.
This doesn't end with us getting married and having children.
It could.
It doesn't end with us finding a nice, comfortable home to die in.
Chelsea,
Now that summer's over, you're going off to your new job. I'll go back to school, probably. We'll see each other, sure. Now and again, we'll meet for drinks. I'll let you rub my back when it aches. And we'll look at each other longingly from across the room, remembering the good times. We might even fuck now and again, for old time's sake. But it won't be the same. There will be pressure. There will be context. Context ruins life. We just lived in the same apartment for a while, and when that happens, things happen. I have feelings for you, Henry. Of course I do. I don't love you. I never will. And you don't want to be with someone like that. That never ends well. You want my advice? Sylvia. She's amazing. Perfect for you. She'll love you, worship you, make you so fucking happy. Go marry her and just remember one incredible summer.
I think you're wrong.
No, you don't.
I think...
Just don't say it. Don't make it worse.
I threw out the book.
All of it?
Well, I don't want to be too melodramatic. I didn't really throw it anywhere so much as I shelved it. Put it at the bottom of the drawer, cleaned up the desk, and started something new.
A whole new book?
That's right.
A summer wasted?
Hardly. Do you want to know what the new book is about?
She smiles at him. Neither wants to say it out loud until finally.
Surprise me.
Henry goes over to a boombox. He puts in a CD. A romantic ballad from the 80s comes on, something like Eternal Flame by the Bangles, Heaven is a Place on Earth by Belinda Carlisle, or Foolish Beat by Debbie Gibson. Henry goes over to Chelsea, takes her by the hand, and pulls her close. She does not resist. They dance closely. They come together. She puts her head on his shoulder. They both begin to cry. At first, tears, then more pronounced, then cathartic sobbing. Slowly fade to black. Scene 14, late afternoon. The sun is setting and evening light presses in through the windows. The apartment is filled with suitcases. Ellen and Chelsea sit near each other, but not next to each other. Chelsea has watery eyes. Richard comes on stage from the dining room. He sees Chelsea upset, but is unsure of what to do.
I'm going to tip the doorman.
I'll start unpacking in a minute.
I may run around the corner for a sandwich or something. Either of you two want anything?
No, thanks. Thank you. We had a wonderful time, Chelsea. It would have been nice having you there.
Might not have been so wonderful had I been there.
What's wrong?
Nothing.
Why are you crying?
I'm not.
I know when you're crying.
I have a date tonight.
Is that why you're crying?
No.
I was hoping maybe we could have dinner, catch up with what happened this summer.
I think Dad is getting himself a sandwich, so.
He'll be hungry in 2 hours. I wanted to order in Chinese from around the corner. I don't know why, but of all the things I missed while we were away, I really miss that place.
It's really, really good.
Did you introduce it to Henry?
No, he doesn't like Chinese.
So who's the date with?
Friend of a friend. We're gonna see Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise. Apparently this guy is like really into action movies and movie music, and he wants to be a movie composer or something. I told him I wasn't really into action movies and I didn't see the first Mission Impossible, but he was insistent I would just love this one. He said if I don't mind having the first one spoiled, he would catch me up over dinner. I said that was fine.
What's his name?
Mom, okay, I've been here all summer on my own. I'm not going to start giving you all the details of my life.
On your own?
What?
You were here this summer on your own. Did you and Henry get along?
He's fine. He's a nice guy. I think he met a woman this summer. Really nice woman. I think they may, I don't know, but it might work out, is what I'm saying. I didn't have much to do with him, okay? He mostly stayed in his suite. Writers, you know, they need discipline. He's writing a book. It's a big task.
Okay.
Ellen begins unpacking and getting the house in order.
And how about you?
How about me?
Your summer?
Boating, long brunches, dinner parties with friends. Very lively.
And Dad?
You'd have to ask him, but I think he had a good time.
And you and Dad?
Can you help me unpack?
Of course.
If you have enough time before your date.
Absolutely.
Chelsea helps. They do this in silence for a moment.
If you'll allow me one nosy question.
Okay.
Did you play the birthday game with Henry?
Well, we talked about it, but we didn't do it. It's our family tradition, and having a stranger do it just didn't seem right. So on my birthday, Henry and I just had a nice dinner. That was one of the only times this summer when we just sat and talked. Otherwise, I barely knew he was here.
Okay. Maybe we'll do something for you, you know? Like, maybe you want to pick a restaurant?
Mom.
Yeah?
Do you know how the birthday game got started?
No. Funny, but I really don't. Maybe your father does. I guess it's just something we've always done.
Blackout. Scene 15. Title card or projection. 1 year later, Saturday, September 1st, 2001. Some new furnishings around the apartment, but otherwise looks the same. Ellen, Richard, Henry, and Sylvia in Sunday brunch attire.
Mazel tov! Great to see you, Henry.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And to think we made this possible.
It's so good to finally meet you.
Let me pour you a drink. Scotch?
Oh, nothing for me, thanks.
Nothing.
Sylvia's not a drinker.
No one is until they are.
I'll have a scotch.
High and dry?
You remember.
I remember you have good taste.
We want to hear all about the wedding plans, the engagement. Have you picked a date? Wait, before that, let me see the ring.
It's a modest ring. I'm still just a poor struggling writer, and all I could afford was a poor struggling writer's ring.
Yeah, whatever. Sylvia, dear, let me see your hand. It's lovely. Really, Henry. Lovely. You can also replace this, like for your 5th wedding anniversary or something.
Your drink?
Thank you.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
We're thinking next summer for the wedding.
Where will it be?
Probably the synagogue in Westchester, where I grew up, in Scarsdale.
A sentimental choice. Really lovely.
We don't want to spend too much on it. They can get so expensive, and I think that's unnecessary. I always say to Henry, your wedding should reflect who you are. It should get you on the right start. I'm a teacher, he's a writer. We're going to live modestly. We should have a modest wedding, a synagogue wedding with our close family and friends.
So interesting to hear.
You didn't grow up so frugally. If I remember, you once liked the things money can buy.
Richard.
There's nothing wrong with saying that, is there?
Times change, I guess.
Sometimes they do.
And is Chelsea here?
No, Chelsea is on her way to Southport to spend the last weekend of summer with some friends at the beach.
I'm sorry to miss her.
She was sorry too. But you know how it is. Friends want to go, so she had to go. Sylvia, please tell me how did this brooding romantic man propose to you?
Yeah.
You okay?
No, no, nothing. It was just I was hoping to see her before we leave.
Where are you going?
We're in town for a few days to celebrate the engagement. I'm taking up a full-time teaching position at Brown, and Sylvia's moving up there with me.
Sylvia, what will you do?
I got a job running the Hebrew school at a temple in Providence.
It's much cheaper there. You can live better on less.
Anyway, we have brunch here.
Thanks.
I think we can only actually stay for a little while.
Really?
I thought, well, I'm hungry anyway.
Ellen leads Sylvia off stage towards the kitchen and dining room.
Here, Sylvia, let me show you the spread. You can convince Henry that he should stay and stuff himself, especially if you're about to go live on such meager salaries.
Well, Henry, how are you doing?
I'm fine, Richard.
When we got back at the end of last summer, I barely had a chance to say hello to you.
I know it was a crazy time, but if I was remiss in thanking you...
No, that's not what I was suggesting. I'm so happy. Really so happy you had the chance to stay with us last summer, but I almost feel as though I need to apologize to you.
Why?
Well, Chelsea kept telling us how she ignored you all summer, how the two of you never spoke or whatever.
Is that how she described it?
Well, you know women.
Do I?
Always so tight-lipped with us vulgar men. Never tell us anything, but expect us to know everything.
Chelsea could not have been a more gracious host.
And can I make a terrible confession?
Of course.
I mean, this is so inappropriate given, well...
What's on your mind?
You're engaged now. Great. Sylvia seems amazing. I mean, I met her 2 minutes ago, but I think I was kind of hoping maybe you and Chelsea would get together.
Really?
Look, your father is a good friend. The idea of, well, anyway.
You know what, Richard? It didn't work out that way, but I actually really do appreciate what you're saying.
I'm relieved to hear you say that.
She's your daughter, after all.
Right? It's a dangerous world out there. All kinds of crazy ideas. You think about the future and you want your kid to... Anyway, sorry.
It's fine. I'm glad you told me.
Thank you, really, Henry. Thank you. Speaking of your father, have you... has he told you what's...
No.
No?
I need to be honest. I haven't spoken to my parents all that much of late.
Oh. Is everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine, I guess. But the lawsuit has taken a toll, and I've been busy at Brown.
No, I get that. I do.
But
well, okay. I mean, it's not really my place to tell you. I mean, we represent my firm. We represent your father. He's the client and not you, but...
what?
I guess I could give you the broad outlines. Case settled.
Settled?
Confidential settlement. You understand I can't go into the details, but it's settled.
It's over?
Over.
Completely done.
Well, I'm not going to say exactly what it is, but there's going to be a monetary payment by the insurance company. Won't cost your father anything, and the settlement does not have any finding of liability. So, while it will be known that your father got sued and there was an out-of-court settlement, there will be nothing on the record to suggest he acted negligently.
So that's it?
From the lawsuit perspective, yes. I mean, what the hospital does, or that I can't say. But it's what we've said many times before. Doctors get sued, Henry. It happens every day. Just a professional hazard. Life goes on.
He was drunk, wasn't he?
Who?
My dad, when he did that surgery, he was drunk.
He says he wasn't. Who are we to say?
Say what?
To say when doctors are ready to perform. And people do all kinds of things. You think cab drivers are never drunk?
I think that is a touch different.
Maybe so. You know, Henry, we parents are destined to disappoint our children. How can we not? You see how screwed up young people are? Well, those young people get old and become parents. They're no less screwed up, only closer to death. But the kids don't know that. You think kids we have some secret grown-up knowledge, but don't be so hard on him.
Maybe you're right.
And while we're on the business of making confessions, I have one more.
Yes?
Now, this one you really can't tell anyone, not even Ellen. I mean, I'm telling you because I have to tell someone.
Okay.
Here goes. I voted for Bush.
George W. Bush.
That's right.
That's funny. That's
why funny.
Wow, weren't we talking a year ago about what a liberal you were and how excited you were to vote for Gore?
I know.
And even with Lieberman, a Jew on your ticket, you still voted for Bush?
I did.
Why?
We hear the door open and Chelsea enters. She wears a one-piece patterned summer outfit and colorful sandals.
You're back.
I forgot my laptop.
Can't go a weekend without that.
I was afraid I might get bored.
Henry is here along with his beautiful fiancée Sylvia, and now you've got to say goodbye to them.
Oh,
Hello, Chelsea.
And we should check on the ladies. I bet it's time for brunch anyway. Now, you must stay, Henry. You're hoping Chelsea would be here, and turns out she is.
Richard exits into the kitchen off right. Henry and Chelsea look at each other.
congratulations on your engagement.
You heard, I assume.
I had.
But you didn't entirely believe it?
Believe what? That you were engaged? I always assumed you'd get engaged.
No, not that.
What then? What didn't you think I believed?
That I would take your advice and get engaged to Sylvia.
I'm glad you did.
So now ask me the question.
Do you love her? Do you still love me?
Ellen, Richard, and Sylvia come in.
Oh, here you two are. Come on now, it's time to eat.
I really only came to get my laptop. There's a train in half an hour I want to catch.
You and Henry both, eh? As soon as he walked in, he said he could only stay a few minutes. Why is everyone in such a rush when I have this beautiful spread? Everyone into the dining room now. Everyone will have plenty of time to get where they're going after brunch.
Ellen whisks everyone into the dining room. We hear laughter and talking from offstage, some slow, mournful music. Richard, Ellen, Chelsea, Sylvia, and Henry are having brunch. Time passes. The laughter dies down. It is now mid-afternoon. We hear a sink, dishes being washed. Chelsea comes on stage. She looks about the room, deep in thought. She goes over to the left side of the stage and traces the steps she and Henry took during her mock funeral. Henry enters from the kitchen. He stands upstage, and she does not see him at first.
I finished my novel.
She doesn't react to him and is not startled by his presence.
It's called Happy Lives, and it's about...
Happy Lives, is it? I'm sure that's an erotic title. Is it about a painter on the Amalfi Coast?
No.
Does it involve the Amalfi Coast at all?
Only in that it's about a writer unsuccessfully working on a novel about the Amalfi Coast.
And it's being published?
Looks that way. We're waiting for the final contract changes to come back from the publisher, but...
This happened quickly.
Once I started, it just kind of... Let's say the writing went well. Then sure enough, people were interested, surprised me as much as anything. I promise I won't embarrass you.
I'm not worried about being embarrassed. I don't care what you wrote. I won't read it anyway.
Why not?
Henry Jacobson, young literary star, beautiful fiance. I guess things worked out.
Not exactly as I wanted.
We never get everything we want.
And how was your year?
I didn't graduate.
I heard.
Made it through the first semester, but not the second.
You gonna finish in the fall?
I've been dating this guy. really into movie music. He has a pretty big dick, bigger than yours, which is good and bad, kind of shaped like a crescent moon. I mean, it hurts, but when he gets the thrust right, gave me the best orgasm of my life.
You really can't shock me anymore, so you might as well stop trying.
I'm not trying.
And what are you doing?
I am being honest. I am telling you the truth, which is the highest respect I can give you. Anyway, we do cocaine together sometimes. Takes the edge off life. I like it. He goes down on me, which is rare for a man. Holds me tight when I have panic attacks, stuff like that.
Chelsea.
I know what you're going to say, Henry, and I really don't want you to say it.
Ellen comes in.
Oh, here you two are. We're going to do the toast in a minute.
Neither Henry nor Chelsea say anything or even react to her being there.
All right. Well, come in soon. I'll have Sylvia and Richard help finish cleaning up. Not too long.
Ellen exits.
I guess I was kind of hoping we'd have kept better touch over the year. You don't want me to say it, I won't say it. I respect you, and I will respect what you are asking. But I will say this. Everything I said when we played the birthday game remains true today. Everything. Every single word. And if you want to be honest with me, I will be honest with you. I think you're wasting your life and ruining your life, and there are better things out there for you. And I would help you. I would help you every day. I think you're throwing it away all for no reason, for none at all.
I'll probably be dead soon.
Won't we all, Dragon Lady?
No, I mean...
Lounging on a country porch in a wicker chair, sipping mint julep laced with cyanide.
No, Henry, I mean...
Some kind of mesh hanging over our eyes, black, thin, lacy something which would be sexy anywhere else on your body.
Fuck you.
Dear me, girl. A charmed response. A privileged response. So morose. Staring at the ground, your knees shaking like a rabbit about to have its neck snapped. You're too cliched to even be called a drama queen.
She slaps him hard across the face. Very hard. He reels, shocked at the force. She slaps him again with the other hand just as hard. He looks at her in a genuine physical pain. She slaps him again, this time the hardest, knocking him off balance. She goes to slap him again, but he grabs her almost violently and holds her in place. She starts shaking. He lets go.
I don't want to have a body. I don't want to have skin or a stomach. I don't want to eat.
I'm sorry, Chelsea. I'm so sorry.
Does Edmund Sadi make an appearance in your book?
You'll have to read it.
Do you blame my dark outlook on life to him?
Stop it, Chelsea. I'm done.
I spoke to him
When?
a couple of months ago.
What happened?
We had dinner. I called him up and said, well, that I missed talking to him and wondered if he wanted to have dinner.
What did he say?
He said George W. Bush is president, the Israeli-Palestinian peace process has collapsed, and violence has broken out. And that these events, among many others, generally confirm his view of the world. I guess it confirms Sylvia's view of the world too, which is weird given that she hates Sadi, but I don't know.
Did you tell Sadi about your general view of the world?
Yes. He said he couldn't blame me and that the only answer was Christ. He said without Christ, he wouldn't want to live either. He's convinced that horrible things are coming. Says things never stay good for this long, and it'll catch up with us sooner than we think.
Did you fuck him?
He did, actually.
Did you tell your boyfriend?
No. He's fucked around, too. Okay?
You want to know something? I'm glad you and he got back together. You deserve each other.
Why is that?
Because the world is so simple, isn't it? So easy. No need to confront the hard choices or make the difficult decisions. Christ is really the only salvation, or the struggle isn't worth it, or getting through a few difficult years or disappointments. Can I tell you something, Chelsea? You are not so special. There's nothing unique about you. There's nothing dramatic. There's nothing romantic about your life. A short, tragic life you lived out in wealth and privilege on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, where you had just enough money and food and fancy things to live out your best morose self. You will be forgotten. You will be forgotten by everyone, and it will all amount to nothing. You will have nothing to amount it to.
Chelsea gently rubs the back of her hand against Henry's cheek.
I will not have been forgotten by everyone, Henry. Not everyone.
Sylvia enters.
Henry,
Go.
what's going on?
Nothing. I'll be there in a minute.
Go with your fiance.
You can't tell me what you just told me and despise for getting upset.
What did she tell you?
How am I supposed to react? What is the properly calibrated emotional response?
Indifference,
Please.
or maybe compassion, or sympathy, or support.
Support?
In some weird way, yes.
How's that?
Because I'm choosing to have a different kind of life.
Henry, let's go.
Richard
Please.
and Ellen enter. Richard is carrying a bottle of champagne and Ellen a glass with trays.
Where did everyone go? These young people tried to escape.
We felt so lonely all of a sudden. Our children abandon us, Richard. Our children bury us before we're dead.
I need to get going.
So do we.
Henry, what's going on?
Nothing.
Please, don't keep me out of this. I'm going to be your wife.
Later.
No one is going anywhere until we have our champagne.
He pops open the bottle. It spills all over the top. He and Ellen prepare glasses for everyone and hands them out.
We have so much to celebrate as we settle into the new century. Our country is at peace, our economy is growing, technology is offering the promise of new jobs, and some crazy something called reality television is all the rage. Can you imagine? I don't personally understand the appeal, but you think? Anyway, closer to home, we have the wonderful engagement of Henry and Sylvia, an engagement I like to think we helped foster. Chelsea, we should be celebrating your graduation, but
Don't.
no. We all have our journeys to take. That's all. I have no doubt that you will find your own in your own good time, in your own good way. So, let's raise a toast.
Your office, Richard.
My office. How could I forget? We have completed our move to the top floor of One World Trade Center. Took close to 2 years to find this space, negotiate the lease, and get set up. But this week, we have the grand opening of our beautiful new office suite. I can't wait.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Great news.
So, everyone raise your glasses.
Richard raises his glass. The others raise their glasses too. Lights change sharply. Harsh contrast as the characters are thrown into light and shadow as they freeze for a tableau. Richard stands center stage holding his glass up high. Ellen stands next to him, glass raised, looking at Chelsea, concerned. Chelsea stands stage right, holding a glass, looking at the floor. Henry stands across the room, stage left, looking at Chelsea. Sylvia, left of Henry, holds Henry's arm as if trying to get his attention. We hold a moment, then the tableau breaks.
To the new century.
The new
To the new century.
Blackout, end of play. Whew. We survived.
Did it.
Hey, great job.
Hey.
Wonderful work.
So I'm just gonna open the floor to any of you. Anything you want to talk about, anything you want to say generally first, and then we can dive into some more in-depth things after that.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah, I have to say, Judah, I mean, it is so refreshing to read a play about two people, young people in their early 20s, who you really, I mean, it just takes me back to when I was in my 20s, about 100 years ago. And they bring out the best and the worst in each other, but it was just, it felt like they needed each other. And that was just totally invested in that in the entire time. The relationship felt honest, real. It didn't feel forced. Anybody tells you to change anything, don't change anything. I really was very moved by this, and I wouldn't change a damn thing. So
I appreciate that. It's very validating to hear that. I will tell you that this play was took a very long time to write. I was saying before we started, it took about 7 years to write. Not every day. In fact, there were periods where I would put it down for a year and barely do anything because I was sort of developing the characters and the story in my mind, imagining different scenarios, and then I would come back to it. So it's very gratifying to hear that. Because getting here was a long journey.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Please.
I was going to say, I love how you write all of the female characters because you captured, when you're in your 20s, that's all you, as a woman, as a young woman, all you do is test. You're constantly testing and pushing and trying to just, poke at the other person to see, is this for real? Is this going to work? Is this a balloon that's just going to pop? Like, you don't believe it quite or trust it, or you just want to see what you can get away with when you're in your 20s. And then when you're in your 40s or 50s or older, you not so much. You kind of, you're almost afraid to push back or test because then you're on your own and you're in your middle age. And I love that Sylvia is so, that other 20s thing where you try to be above it and not let your emotions get caught up in it and, establish that you're intellectual and bright and all this crazy impetuousness of you. Like you try to set yourself aside from it, but then the vulnerability shows at moments. I mean, I think they were all really beautifully written women characters. If that makes any sense.
Maybe a tempting question. The play is actually not autobiographical.
But I was wondering.
I will take some of the conversations in there, particularly about Israeli politics, were verbatim taken from conversations that I've actually had, but the story itself is not autobiographical.
I think you captured. I think it's like hard, there's a lot of times where you'll attempt to talk about the thing, but overtly sort of like beat around the bush and attempt to make it more subtle. But I don't think you've done that. I actually think you've captured nuance quite well with this story because you've interwoven it so nicely with Jewish politics and with the religion in itself. It doesn't seem forced. It doesn't seem like it's coming from a place of pretension or preaching. And I really appreciate I always love stories where I'm even grappling with this thought, right? The idea that you have this connection with someone that's so bold, but that's not who you end up with. It's what happens in life where you almost decide to make the adult choice rather than following something that you believe is true to your heart that's actually pushed you further and to not collapse the societal idea of that thing.
Yeah. I almost feel like Chelsea is trying to, like, in a way, torture herself. I don't know, like she's doing it like as a way to just prove to herself that life is so bad. And she sees like this good thing maybe that she could have with him, but she's like, no, that's bad. No relationship ends well because she sees her parents.
It's like totally self-destructive.
Yeah. I really think that like both roles are really written so naturally in a way that like they're really relatable. Even when she's crazy, you're like, yeah, well, I know why she's saying it like that. Or at least I did. I felt that way. So yeah, I really like reading it.
You did a great job, so thank you.
Thank you.
Judah, I also felt like none of the characters were like each and every character had its own, like, it was very three-dimensional. Even if we don't get to see the full, like even like Sylvia and Richard and Ellen, like, we're not on stage as much as Chelsea and Henry, but there is a fullness to each and every one of them. And it's not like, we're not like characteristics in any way. So that was really great to see and read and and be a part of, because I think it's easy to just like keep it. Well, Richard is this guy, and he's an asshole because he treats women this way, and Ellen is just weak because whatever, all these things, and it's. I feel like you kept like poking that, like, so. That's really
I
cool.
said this at the beginning, but I don't think everyone was on, is that there was shortly before I got to a draft that I thought worked, there was an additional hour to the play, if you can believe it. And I was like, I have wasted 7 years of my life because the play is not working at all. And then like one day I was just like, you know what? We have to cut. And we cut. The scene at the Guggenheim was 3 different scenes in the original, and it got compressed into one. So, I felt that this we ended up here, and I like the length. It is a little bit longer than a lot of plays that are produced these days. But I like the length, and I think that I appreciate what you said about the characters and sort of making the characters distinctive, even though they have less stage time. Because this was sort of the draft where I was like, I cannot cut anymore. This is as short as it can go without really losing what I wanted. And so that was a tightrope I tried to walk, is to make sure we got a full story, for Richard, Ellen, and Sylvia, even though they had less stage time, obviously, than me. I'm glad that you feel that way.
I would sit through this 3-hour version of this and I would be like, this is so awesome. I really would.
I would too.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I thought about, how well paced it was, because there's not I was, as we were going through it, there's not something that each of the scenes don't really drag too much, and then by the time you really get to that funeral scene, it's kind of, you've earned it. You've like deserved this sort of overarching idea, and I think the funeral, it's like beautiful. I would the concept of that just as like a plot device is amazing.
It really is. It's cool.
I think it's important for me to tell you all this, that when we go through selecting plays for Workshop Live, I don't read them. Our resident dramaturg reads everything, and she pulls out the plays that she thinks have the most potential, are the most well-developed, have a clear plot line, have those characters that are well-developed but could use a little more push sometimes. So when I'm sitting in here listening to you guys read these, I'm also experiencing it for the first time. So like, I don't read any of it. I have a synopsis, and then she gives me sides to send out for auditions, because I think that having at least one person in the discussion who it's like their first experience hearing everything, because all the actors have read through the script already, and Judah wrote the script, so he knows it. So it's nice having one person who has experienced everything for the first time. Because I'm that innocent bystander who is not prepared for the culture shock or prepared for the roller coaster of emotions that's coming. Because I definitely had moments where I was like, Henry and Chelsea are going to get together at the end. And then like 2 scenes later, I'm like, no, they're not. And then I'm like, yeah, they are. And I'm like, no. So it's like this roller coaster of relationships between the characters. And that is very well done. I was like, Chelsea is sassy. She's savage. She's like I like the fact that she is a character that has her own opinions. I see a lot of female characters who don't have their own opinions. She has her own opinions about politics. They're influenced by older men, but she still stands firm in those opinions, which is important. Even though they might not be correct in her world, but she still stands firm in them, which is very important. And then just another comment, that the language that was deployed throughout the entire piece didn't feel repetitive at all. Like, we were talking a lot about Jewish politics and politics in general, which can get very heavy and very wordy, but I felt like the way it was written really allowed for me not to feel overwhelmed with politics. Like, the way politics was written was used as the device to push the plot forward. So there wasn't too much unnecessary politics written in, which was very nice, very nice.
I'm really glad to hear you say that, Austin, because that was something, if there was one issue I struggled with as much, I mean, I struggled with a lot getting through this, but sort of how much and how little discussion of politics, you know, I didn't want to assume that I wanted to assume that people, you know, wouldn't necessarily get the references. So I needed to give enough to get it, but I didn't want to have a lecture. The same thing with Satie's sort of philosophy and view of life, which is another sort of potentially treacherous area. It's not, you know, the play is not a philosophy lesson. So I also tried to figure out how much Satie's sort of views on things and how little. So that was another area where I was, you know, worked through that over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, and that's the thing is, it didn't feel like a lesson. It felt like two people. It felt like all of the characters, especially Chelsea and Henry, just a progression of a conversation. And within that, you were able, I think they were able to reveal more about themselves, things that they may not have been able to dig deep in before. I mean, it's, you know, when you're in your 20s, you know, when you're in college or whatever, you meet people. I believe that when I was in college, I met the people that kind of would call you out on your shit. They would call you out like, wait, that's what you think? Well, why do you think that? Like, you know, and you get into an argument, but it doesn't get into like, you know, personal stuff. Like, you know, it's like, no, I really want to know. Like, if you're going to have that opinion, back it up. And throughout this, like the discovery of these two people, like how they have their back and forth, they would probably they had screaming, throwing down arguments with each other, but they were probably, they learned, they had such enlightenment from just their interactions, that was really just, it was just great to watch, like just how it just felt very real and very honest.
Judah, I knew none of those references, the political references, and it was so clear. It made so much sense, and it was interesting. It didn't feel lectury or like I was watching a really obscure news broadcast commentary. It was really interesting.
I'm so glad to hear that. You know, one of the things that I wanted to try and capture in this play was how conversation can be very important to life, actually. And I don't always think that, you know, I felt that we don't, you know, in theater and certainly in film, which is more visual, we don't always have opportunities to kind of capture, you know, the sense of conversation, the way that conversation, you know, can sort of, you know, move people. And that was a lot of what I was, you know, going after in this play. So yes, obviously Henry and Chelsea don't end up together. But they had this very meaningful experience, this very meaningful relationship, which in many ways is unresolved. But, you know, things in life are oftentimes unresolved. You know, we don't know exactly. I don't know exactly. I have some thought that there could potentially be a sequel. I don't want to, you know. But that's, to me, that's true to life, is that, you know, we don't always reach that resolution.
Totally. I think even with the conversation about Satie's philosophy, for me, that just like adds more to how much influence he has on Chelsea's character. The way that she's able to speak about it paints that picture very clearly, and less about like demanding we know his philosophy, but more about this is how very clearly this guy exists. And even though he's not a character at all, he's very clearly present with us.
Yeah.
I also feel like you created characters that we can care about. I mean, so Sylvia, so I was born and raised in Israel. My mother is American. My father was born in Iran and grew up in Israel. They met in the United States. They went back to Israel. My political views are very different from Sylvia's. I cannot stand Benjamin Netanyahu. But, you know, so I come from like, I get her, but I don't get her, but I still like, I can care about the character, and I can care about everyone's characters because there's something like human about everyone. And like, even if they disagree, there's still an openness to have a conversation and speak. Like no one is just written off just because, well, oh, Chelsea, I think you are in a relationship where you know this person who I can't stand, so I'm just gonna not talk to you. Or, you know, there isn't any of that. And that's, I think it really, I mean, it's like inspiring, but it's also lends itself to like something that's a lot more real and open and flows really well. And yeah, I think as a audience, you can receive a lot more, hopefully.
Great. That's great to hear.
A lot of overlap. I was born in Westchester, so I was reading this. I was like, oh, what was going on here?
Well,
I had one question. One question. I wanted to know more about just the input of Survivor as the reality show. It's not just like a time stamp sort of thing. I just wanted to know more about your thoughts behind including Survivor.
Well, it's funny because I wanted to clearly demarcate the date.
Sure.
And I don't know how many of you remember the summer of 2000. I am Chelsea's age, and Chelsea and Chelsea's not based on me, so I don't, but Chelsea and I are the same age. And her birthday, if you sort of follow the timeline, her birthday is in late July, as is my birthday. And I remember the summer of 2000 very clearly. It was the summer of the Camp David peace talks, and it was the summer that Survivor was really the first reality television program.
And wasn't that when like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was on like 7 nights in a row? Like it was like that and Survivor. It was like 7 nights in a row.
And then
Who
Friends.
Wants to Be a Millionaire? Yeah, it's just it was.
So I wanted to create a sense of time for that. And I also think, when Richard says at the end that, or Ellen says that, reality TV is a passing fad, we know what happens, what flows from that. So I kind of wanted to give a sense, part of this play is sort of looking at recent history, but obviously through the lens of where we are now. And I think that sort of gives a sense how at the time reality television was something that was very popular, but was seen as kind of this quirky little thing and sort of, how we're at ultimate end.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Thank you.
Real quick, so if you saw the girl coming in behind me, that's Alex. She is our resident playwright, but also one of our graphic designers who designed the graphic for this play that we use everywhere. She has a couple things to say. She didn't listen to the whole thing. She came and went, but she has a couple things that she wants to mention before.
Oh, you're just going to?
Yeah, go.
Anyway, I was just going to say I did really like the characters. Like, I feel like I'll have to go back and watch the whole thing. Because I was, like, really, like, captured by, like, I think I came in, like, right before the funeral. So I was like, oh my God, what is going on? I was like, I've missed something, so I feel like I have to go back and watch the beginning. But kind of based off like what you were just saying about the dates being very specific, I listened to the end and he's like talking about the World Trade Center and just kind of what I got of Chelsea's like beliefs and stuff that like left like a feeling in my stomach of like, like that they're not only arguing, but you have this feeling like, oh, it's going to get so much worse. Even though they're kind of joking about it, like, oh, like the world's going to be bad. And I think like it'd be interesting to see Chelsea after all this because like I feel like the things that are going to happen are just going to kind of like make her worse off because she's going to see like that negativity. And even just thinking about now where how far we've come from like such a pinpoint date in like American history, it just left like a weird feeling in my stomach, but it was like a great way to end the play as well, because they don't end up together, but you also know like something is about to happen too, in a global standpoint that could very much still change things for everyone in that family. And I really like that. And I, like Austin said, I only listened to probably about 30 minutes of the play, and now I feel like I have to go back and watch the beginning so I know what was going on. But
Thank you for
it
your
was really
work on the
interesting and captivating, even as like somebody who wasn't listening the whole time. I was like really intrigued. So I'll give you props for that.
And as I said, thank you for the graphic. It's great. Well, as I said, if you want to see more, we'll see what happens with this. This play is still on its journey, but as I said, a sequel is possible. We'll see. We'll see how this goes.
I would watch. I would listen to a sequel. That was interesting.
I think if we had a sequel, we'd bring Professor Satie on stage.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a piece that has been well thought out. It's like you definitely did the research and able to make it believable, but like not too much research, like you said earlier. You didn't want it to be a lecture. You just kind of wanted it to be those conversations. So it definitely was just those conversations. And I think Sarah, our dramaturg, I think she fact checked everything, and she couldn't come back with anything that wasn't factual or didn't hold true to some sort of fact, which she's really great at because she fact checks me all the time. So, so I got to give you props for that, because I've read a lot of plays in development that don't always fact check and don't always take the time to get the facts right. Like Henry and the Amalfi Coast. Like,
we have a whole subplot about fact checking.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's a very timely thing. So we need to fact check a lot of things in playwriting to make things more believable. But I wanted to end my comments with that at the Pharmacy Theater, we like to make people uncomfortable when they're watching plays, because because a lot of things get romanticized in theater. A lot of the hard topics get romanticized so they can be more easily digestible for audiences, which isn't always what theater should be. Like, theater shouldn't start conversations and make people question what they already believe, and make them question and like ask those tough questions. And I think this play definitely makes those questions come to life, because I found myself like questioning like my relationships with other people, and it's like questioning, did I ever act the way that Chelsea's acting? Did I ever act the way that Henry's acting? Do I know people like Ellen and Richard? Do I know people like Sylvia? So it was just asking a lot of those questions and making everything, making me question my life is how I'm gonna put that.
Okay.
Which is good, which is what we aim for, which is what, that's just it. That's all I got to say.
Well, thank you. I'm touched. I really am. And thank you, Austin, for picking this play. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the actors. It's a tough play, and I know particularly at the beginning we had some technical challenges, but got over that quickly. I really appreciate all your work and your very nice comments. So I just can't thank you all enough.
Thank you.
And you have my gratitude. And stay in touch.
So just to close everything up, next weekend we have another workshop for Scarlet Letter, Bible Belt 19, which Mary Beth and Tim will both be in, playing parents again.
Typecast.
But after seeing a workshop today, they definitely have chemistry together on stage. So it's going to be nice to see that in the world of Nathaniel Hawthorne. And next Sunday, we're also having a discussion about portraying disability on stage. So if any of you are interested in that, that'll also be on the YouTube channel.
What time is that?
That is
I'm
at
sorry to interrupt.
noon on Sunday. We like to start things at noon so that you have the rest of the day to do whatever. They're all recorded, so you can always go back and watch them again. And then the following weekend, we have another workshop. It's called New Year's Eve at the Stop and Go. It's set in New Year's Eve 1999 with Freak Out of Y2K. It's also very interesting. Asia, she had to leave because she had another commitment to go to, but she will be in that one as well. So if you wanted to see her again, she'll be there. And then that following Sunday after that, which I believe is, if I have my dates correct, should be the 21st. At noon, we're going to talk about portraying queerness on the stage. We're going to be in conversation with Jay Armstrong Johnson from Broadway's Phantom of the Opera. He's going to come in. We're going to have this lovely conversation about accurately portraying queerness on the stage instead of romanticizing it and making it all fluffy and fun. So that's the next 2 weekends here on our virtual content. So if any of you guys want to stop in and watch those goes live at noon, Saturday and Sunday. But other than that, I have nothing else to add. And I just want to thank you guys for all coming together in such short notice, because we did this all in about 3 weeks. So you guys were very amazing. It was challenging, but it was nice. So thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you for calling me.
Oh yeah,
Thank you.
no problem, Will. I got you.
I appreciate it.
So yeah, without
Thank you
that,
all.
I hope everyone watching has a good day, and we hope to